Hi guys, I'm Laura Vitale, and on this episode of Laura in the Kitchen, I'm bringing you a donut recipe. I've had these being requested here for so long. We're making jelly donuts. They're easy, they're a crowd pleaser, and I love them. I love donuts, but I only make them once in a while. It's really not something I buy often. I just really enjoy making them and eating them fresh. So I figured today was the day because I wanted some jelly donuts. The ingredients you'll need to make the donuts are very few and basic. So you'll need all-purpose flour, a good pinch of salt. I've got some melted vegetable shortening and some melted unsalted butter, an egg, some milk that's been warmed up, and I've got some sugar and some yeast. That's it. Let's get started. We're gonna get going on activating the yeast. I've got my milk here, about 110 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm gonna sprinkle over my yeast, and I'm also gonna feed it by giving it just a teaspoon of sugar. Mix that around, and I'm gonna set that aside for several minutes or until the yeast is, you'll be able to smell it when it's activated and it gets all foamy and bubbly on top, and that's when you know that you are ready to get going. Mix your salt with your flour so that that's completely ready to go. And now in this bowl, I'm going to make this in my standing mixer because it does need to knead for a while. So in the bowl of my standing mixer, I'm just going to add my vegetable shortening that I've melted. I pop that right into the microwave along with my unsalted butter. And then I'm going to add in my egg, and this is really my all-purpose, like plain donut dough. It just works really well, and my glazed donut recipe, this is the same dough I used. I just doubled the batch when I did those. But it's just really, it's perfect. It works really well, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I'm just gonna give these a quick little mix. I'm gonna clean up, wait for my yeast to activate, and then we'll put the whole thing together. We'll get it kneading, and that will be that much closer to getting these ready to eat. You can see my yeast is activated, and it's super important when you're working with a yeast dough that your yeast is activated. So often, whenever it's either a donut recipe or my cinnamon rolls or any dough that requires, any dough that's a yeast dough, I get some emails from people saying that the dough didn't work out, it's really hard and didn't rise. And chances are it's because your yeast is not activated. And that could be a number of factors that can make that happen. I mean, your liquids, in this case the milk, might not be hot enough. It might be too hot and kill the yeast, or the yeast might be expired. So you need to be careful and make sure your yeast is activated, and that way you will get a great dough every single time. I've added my yeast mixture, I'm adding my flour, and just kind of giving this a quick stir with my spatula right before I put it, I get it to kneading. I'm gonna put my dough hook on, and I'm gonna knead this on medium speed for about, I'd say 5-6 minutes. You want a really nice smooth dough, and they should only take about 5-6 minutes. So I'm going to put this on, lift it up, and let it go. My dough was kneading for about 5 minutes, and it's exactly how I want it. It's nice and smooth. It looks like a little on the tacky side, but it's not like sticking to me, as you can see. But that's what I want. Now I have my bowl here. That's the bowl I had my flour in, and I oiled it just with a little bit of vegetable oil. And I'm just taking my dough scraper. Now I'm making a smaller batch. I halved the recipe in half because it's just my husband and I don't want to make too many donuts because I will eat them. So I'm just going to make some, and I'm actually going to take these to, we're having like a little get together tonight with friends, so I'm going to take them there. I oiled the top as well with whatever was left over on my pastry brush, and now I'm going to cover this with plastic wrap and stick it somewhere warm. I'm going to just put it in my microwave with the microwave turned off for about an hour or so. You want this to double in size, and when it's there, it will get going on rolling and cutting and moving forward. My dough is about doubled in size. Now this took a couple of hours, and it can take up to 3 hours. So do not panic if it's not doubled in an hour. Just give it some time and make sure the spot is nice and warm. I'm going to set that aside. I have a baking sheet here with a piece of parchment paper, and I put a little bit of flour down. And now I'm going to take more flour and sprinkle my board. I do have a fish spatula here because it's got a nice flat edge. It's going to be just the thing I need to lift my donuts once I cut them. And then I have like a 3.5-inch biscuit cutter. You can use whatever you've got that's round, use that. Okay, I'm gonna just deflate my dough just like that, and then I need to get it all out of here. just pull this together with my hands, and you can stretch it out with your hands if you want to. I'm going to take a rolling pin and just get this out to about a 1/2 inch thick. Now remember that I did cut the dough in half because I don't want to make too many, because this girl will eat them all. But you will have much more if you make the full batch, which is completely up to you. So I'm just rolling this out and pushing it down with my hands, and you can see I'm kind of flattening it, and then I'm also just getting it to be as even as possible. I want this to be about 1/2 inch thick. Just going to take my biscuit cutter. I like to dip it in flour and then cut out my little donuts. That's it. That simple. Now I'm going to cover these with a lint-free kitchen towel, and I'm going to stick them somewhere warm again, and they need to rise for about a 1/2 hour to an hour, or however long it takes for them to double in size. So I'm going to put this right back there. They'll stay nice and warm, and in the meantime I'm going to get a heavy skillet or a heavy pot. I'm going to fill it with some vegetable oil and bring that up to temperature to cook them in. They look gorgeous. You know just by looking at them that they're going to be fluffy and gorgeous. I do have some vegetable oil up to temperature. I have a large pan, really heavy bottom pan, halfway filled with oil. Now this is how I always tell it's the right temperature. You put the end of a wooden spoon in, and I don't know if you can see, but there's little bubbles coming around up. You see little bubbles around the base of that? That's how you know it's at the perfect temperature. If the bubbles are bubbling like ferociously, that means it's over 350. You can use a thermometer if you want to. Have we met? Chances are not gonna. Chances are I'm just gonna wing it because it works, and it's just easy for me to remember. My grandma taught me that trick years ago. In fact, if you watched our video of the Graf family with her of the Italian donuts, she doesn't use a thermometer either. So now I'm going to use my fish spatula because I'm going to lift each one. And the reason I like a fish spatula is because I can tap a little bit, and the flour, the excess flour, goes to the bottom of the fish spatula. And I am going to just add them to my hot oil. You can see they're bubbling up really nicely. I am going to fry up just a few at a time. I don't want the pan to be overcrowded, so I'm going to fry up about 4 at a time, and I also don't want the temperature of the oil to go down, and then we'll get really soggy and oily donuts. So I'm going to do 4 at a time, and I am going to cook these for about 2 minutes aside or until they're a beautiful golden brown color. What I have here is a baking sheet that I've lined with some paper towels because these are going to need to, I'm going to put them on there so that the oil can kind of get out, seep down into the towel. And then I have a shallow bowl here with some granulated sugar, and I'm going to get some jelly ready, and then we'll get going to put them together. It shouldn't take very long. It'll take like a minute or so per side. They're very quick to cook, and then I'll do the next batch, and I'll meet you back when they're all done. And while the other batch is cooking up, I'm just taking the first batch that I just let sit on my paper towels for just a couple minutes, and I'm dipping them in sugar. You want to do this relatively quickly while they're still hot because that way the sugar sticks. And then I always do like to do it again after I pipe them with the jelly, but for now I'm just going to continue to babysit the rest of them, and then we'll fill them up. Now what I'm doing, and I've already done a few of them, I take one of these, it's like a little lollipop stick, or I think it's also known as like a mini cake pop stick. One of these little things, you can buy them anywhere, or any object in your house that looks like this. I take it and I make a little, like sort of a little hole on one side, like a little bit like that, and I kind of just wiggle it around. This is how I do it. I am not a factory. This is how it works for me. Then I have a disposable piping bag with some strawberry jelly in it, strawberry jam, anything. I wouldn't use preserves because it makes it a little bit too difficult to come out of the tip. And then I just pipe it right in. And if a little bit comes out, perfectly fine. And I just continue to do them all. It shouldn't take very long at all. It'll just take a couple of seconds. Whoa, buddy. They're delicious. And if you could just smell what I'm smelling in here, you'd understand why I'm trying to hurry. They are all filled. And now what I do like to do is I just like to go in and dip the tops in a bit more sugar because I did disturb them a bit as I was filling them, but whatever. I'm going to go right into it. I'm going to go with this one. I'm so excited. Anything on my face? Look! Mmm. 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 Life is sweet. Pun intended. Mmm. They are so much better than store-bought. I'm laughing at myself because I know I'm covered in sugar, but that's okay. They are so much better than store-bought. They're fluffy. They're not too sweet. Perfect amount of jelly. I mean, nothing about these is bad in any way, shape, or form. If you want to make some outrageous jelly donuts, I seriously feel like I got stuff all over me. If you want to make some outrageous jelly donuts, go to laurainthekitchen.com, get this recipe. I'm telling you, it is perfection. Make them, tag me in a picture. I would love to see your recreation. I hope that you enjoy these as much as we do, and I'll see you next time. Bye.